new energy, new faces, and a fresh new challenge. But those early conversations, they often set the tone for everything that follows. And more often than not, they look a little something like this.
Mm, I need you to make the logo bigger.
Okay, how about this?
Mm, okay, but you know what? I want it to look like YouTube. Big logo, big branding everywhere.
Okay, is this any better?
Oh, boring. Can you make it pop?
Okay, I'll try. And now?
Uh, oh, no, now it's just not feeling right for me. It's not right for me.
How about now?
Yeah, keep trying. You know what? I'll know what I want when I see it. Just go, just, more.
Okay, last shot.
You know what? We're out of time. Let's just use this and see how it goes once it's live.
I don't know about you, but I'm so tired of going into discovery sessions, sitting for hours, ask the right questions, to get the right answers, to know what problems our stakeholders have, and then try ask the right questions to solve any other problems that they might not have even thought of yet. Wouldn't it be great if we could just read our clients' minds? To know exactly what their goals are, who their users are, and what it just doesn't look quite right actually means, without playing 20 questions. Well, unfortunately, we can't read minds, and the chances are they're still figuring it out for themselves.
Instead, we often find ourselves trying to turn gut feelings into business requirements or vague phrases like, it needs more energy into a user flow. And when it comes to discovery, we're not just designers, we're interpreters, we're therapists, and we're detectives. But what if our job didn't have to start with decoding? What if we could shortcut that ambiguity and help clients find the clarity they didn't even know they had and faster?
That's where AI can come in. Not to replace us, but to help both us and our clients get alignment faster. Think of it as a collaborative thinking tool, not a shortcut to skip the hard stuff. Hi, my name is Emma Pringle.
And I'm Jana Barclay. And today we'll explore how AI can help our clients do the heavy lifting, helping to shape goals and co create design briefs that truly make sense. We'll share real examples, tangible results, and practical tools you can take straight back to your teams after this.
Now, a lot of you are probably sitting here thinking, oh, goodness, another AI talk. If only the robotics venue wasn't already full. But I want to make something quite clear. Yes, this is another AI talk. But what we're touching here is not only how you can use it to speed up your processes, but how we can get our clients to use it to speed up our processes. So yes, it's all still for selfish reasons, to make our lives easier. But what we're doing here is almost like guiding your grandparents on how to use WhatsApp so they can stop emailing you every time they want to get hold of you. Once they get the hang of it, it's just faster for everyone. Before we dive into how AI is changing our design process, let's zoom out for a second and take a look at the bigger picture. Because discovery isn't just a nice to have, it's the foundation for everything that follows. UX design is often misunderstood as the part where we design pretty screens. But good UX starts long before anything is actually built. It's about uncovering the right problems to solve and then solving them well. So here's what a typical UX process looks like. It's not always perfectly linear, but this will give us a shared map.
Thanks, Emma. So, first in the design process, obviously, is discovery, uncovering the unknowns. The key question that we ask at this point is, what are we actually solving for and for whom? This is the most important and often most overlooked part of the process. So, discovery is where we gather inputs from our clients, our stakeholders, users, and the market. And we try and answer some big foundational questions. Things like, what problem are we really trying to solve here? Or who are the real users of this product? Or what do they really need? And what are the business goals behind this? So, this is also where we look at what we already know and what we still need to learn. And which assumptions should we be testing for? And sometimes a very difficult one, should we even be building this right now? Now, here's the kicker. Most of the time, our clients don't have clear answers to these questions up front. And that's okay. The stuff is hard, right? Clients are close to the product, but they're also juggling 10 priorities, 5 KPIs, navigating internal politics, and often working from instinct. So this is where UX designers become translators, facilitators, and detectives. And honestly, this is also where we believe AI has the potential to make the biggest impact. Because when a client said, I don't know who our users are yet, but I'll know it when I see it, AI can help generate draft personas for us. So when someone says, the app just isn't working for me, AI can help us identify what is and what isn't working. And if we as UX designers, or let me call us detectives, are struggling to get answers out of our clients, and we aren't sure what to ask next in a meeting, that's when we can turn to AI to help point us in the right direction. So think of discovery as the moment you go from fog to focus, and AI can help us burn through that fog much faster.
Step number 2 in the design process is research and insights. Here, we are listening, not just guessing. Our key question at this point is, what do we know about our users and their context? Before we can start the research process, we need to help our clients better understand who their users are. And often our clients think that by offering a very polite, don't worry about user testing, I will test as much as you need, they're helping us. It's often daunting to think, but where am I going to find all these people to help us spend their time and test? Or we face the blanket answer. Anyone can use this app. Well, here's the truth. If you aim for everything, you'll hit nothing. And this is where AI comes in. AI tools can help us source information on user profiles and personas that would typically fall within our target market. From there, it can build personas around related data, such as other apps that our market is typically using, where their pain points are, and what they like and dislike. Once AI has built these personas for us, we can get our clients to meet these personas and actually interact with them. And the unattainable goals quickly become a reality. It's quite poetic that the faceless robot in this case helps us humanize our target market. Once we have some initial direction with our personas, we move into research. This is where we dig deeper into the user's world, the business landscape, and the broader context. This could include things like user interviews, surveys and analytics, competitor reviews, stakeholder workshops, and heuristic evaluations. The goal is to validate assumptions and learn something real about our users. What drives them, what motivates them, what frustrates them. Listen, it's not always glamorous. You might be doing some user testing and watching someone who needs to try and log into an app where all they need to do is click on a button, but they end up turning to you and saying, where do I go? That moment, that's gold. Often in our user testing, when we can see that users get visibly upset when they don't know what to do. But as UX designers, we almost can't ask for a better result while testing. Because those moments tell us what works, what doesn't, and essentially leads us in the direction that we need to go in. Even though AI cannot give us thicker skins, well, at least not yet, it can help in our research phases. Tools like Maze can take messy notes and turn them into clear insights. Summaries, key themes, smart follow-up questions, even bias checks and instant reports. And these all plug directly into Figma. Then there's things like Hotjar, which gives us AI-driven heat maps, session recordings, and quick polls to reveal exactly where our users are getting stuck. It then maps journeys and suggests flow fixes. The insights that we gain from these things don't change, but the speed and the clarity that we're getting them from does.
So the step 3 in the design process is define and ideate. This is where we turn input into ideas. Here we look at how we're solving the right problem in the right way. This is the phase where we stop collecting information and start making sense of it, where we map out problems and start generating ideas. Common tools here include empathy maps, problem statements, jobs to be done, and journey mapping. Ideation is the fun part, right? The more familiar part, especially with our clients. This is where we are brainstorming possible solutions, solution mode, sketching ideas, doing rapid concepting. Rapid, also a word our clients like. This is where good framing really matters. If discovery was unclear from the get-go, you'll ideate in the wrong direction. But if your discovery outcomes are solid, you're off to a great start. Ideation is the sweet spot for AI, as we've seen tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Miro AI, Figma AI, Amazon Q, Microsoft Copilot. They can all generate variations on user journeys. They can help write user stories or brainstorm early concepts in collaboration with you and your clients. So step 4.
Step 4 is designing and prototyping. Here, we bring our designs to life. We start asking ourselves, what could this actually look and feel like? This is what most people think UX is, making the thing. But at this stage, we're still in exploration mode. We're building prototypes that can be tested, changed, and thrown away if needed. This might include things like wireframes, interactive prototypes, design systems, or low to high fidelity mockups. This is where design and UX are intersecting, balancing usability, accessibility, brand, and functionality. AI is also a great tool assistant in this, thinking about all the what ifs, the negative journeys, and all the scenarios that we haven't thought of. Gone are the days where our teammate developer phones up asking, what happens if the payment takes too long and the screen times out? What should I do then? And I'm left trying to put together a half-baked error screen. With AI, we're starting to see real tools here too. Things like auto layout suggestions, AI-assisted Figma plugins, and even design generation. In this example on the screen, you can see how we prompted AI with a list of features for a product that it was able to quickly generate a basic wireframe for us that we could then move forward with. But for us, the biggest shift in how AI frees up our time is in the earlier phases, so that we can spend more time here solving the right problems. It's why we take a car, bus, or train to work, instead of a horse or a donkey. We will always be part of the trip, but we'll just get there faster.
So next we need to test and iterate. We need to learn from what we have so far, and we need to do it fast. We need to see if the solution actually works for real people in the real world. And as any person involved in the delivery of a product or a solution knows, we can never assume that the first version is perfect. That's why we test early and we test often. We show our prototypes to real users, not just our clients. We watch how they use them. We look for patterns in their behavior, and then we get the feedback. We ask questions like, what is confusing, what's intuitive, and what's missing? The beauty of testing is even negative feedback is useful. It helps us pivot while it's still cheap to do so. And again, AI can help here by summarizing test results, tracking usability metrics, even simulating responses with well-structured personas. But remember, real human feedback is still the gold standard here. After all, we're still designing for humans, and therefore should still be part of the process.
Step 6 in the design process is to deliver and launch. Here we start to see how we can bring our designs to life. Once the designs have been tested and refined, we hand them off to developers. This is where collaboration really matters. Documenting decisions, sharing design specs, writing UX copy, and making sure the final product aligns with the overall vision. In AI terms, we're starting to see real code generation tools and handoff aids that can speed things up. But again, the real power comes earlier. If you define the right thing to build, the build will go much smoother.
Last but not least is measure and improve. More often than not, the thinking is after development, there's no longer value for UX designers on the project, right? But the opposite is true. UX should never sleep. This should be the point where, as UX designers, we start asking, but how can I make it better? After launch, we monitor real-world usage, we track analytics, collect feedback, and we look for insights that tell us if the solution is actually effective. And we should be looking at the latest trends within the market and within the industry that our clients in, and work on evolving the product daily with its users. So UX is a loop, not a one and done. And again, the better the early discovery work with these iterative efforts, the more effective the steps that follow will become.
So that's the process. And while every project may shift a bit, the core challenge stays the same. How do we go from vague, messy inputs to real, meaningful outcomes? That's why we believe that the biggest opportunity for AI is in UX isn't just designing screens or writing code. It's in helping us and our clients start stronger, to get aligned faster, to spend less time chasing clarity and more time designing what really matters.
So let's unpack the problem. Now that we've looked at the full UX process, let's zoom into the part where things often start to go sideways. And that's the very beginning. We've all been taught that discovery is everything, that if you get the problem right, everything else flows smoothly. But here's the problem. Most discovery phases don't start with clarity at all. They start with confusion. Clients are busy. Stakeholders are scattered all over the place. We don't know any of them yet. We're still trying to onboard. Assumptions are everywhere. And instead of starting with a shared understanding, and we often start with vibes and WhatsApps. We ask, who are our users? And our clients might say, oh, we're still figuring that out, and it's kind of everyone. Or we ask, what's the goal of the product? And they might say, we want it to be user-friendly, but also disruptive, but also familiar. Sounds familiar?
It does. When discovery starts vague, everything else is harder. Research is unfocused, ideation drifts, design becomes guesswork, testing raises more questions than answers, scope balloons, timelines slip, and more importantly, the client leaves thinking, why did that take so long? Or even worse, we spend weeks ideating and I still don't feel heard. The real issue here is that we are doing all the heavy lifting. Here's what it often comes down to. We, the designers, are doing all the translation. We're translating vague business goals into design briefs. We're turning fuzzy feedback into wireframes. We're writing user personas from thin air because somebody has to. Meanwhile, the client is sitting there with unspoken ideas, unexplored goals, and often unarticulated knowledge that we can't access unless we drag it out of them. And this dynamic, it's not just inefficient, it's unsatisfying for everyone.
Painful. We must also remember that it's easy to say, but the client should just be clearer. But in reality, most of them are struggling in this part of the process as well. They might not know how to explain exactly what they want yet. They might not yet be aligned with their internal stakeholders, and they might not know what's realistic or possible from a technical point of view as well. So sometimes they're just too deep in the weeds to see the product clearly. And in many cases, let's be honest, they're snowed under. When last have you met a product owner that's dedicated only to your product, right? Or maybe I should ask an easier question. When last have you seen a unicorn?
It's not that they're bad collaborators, it's that we're asking them to do something completely unnatural, to take messy, abstract thinking and instantly turn it into structured, actionable insight. And we're expecting them to do this or to fit this all into their already overloaded schedules so that our jobs can be easier. But isn't this exactly why we're here in the first place? Isn't this the whole reason we have a job? To make our clients' lives easier, not the other way around? Believing the opposite would be like an orthopedic surgeon who complains about broken bones, or a car wash that is only expecting their clients to bring sparkly clean vehicles.
Now, are we saying that we're completely excusing our clients from providing any direction at all? Are we exempting them from the responsibility of taking ownership as product owners? No, we're not. Of course not. They have an integral part to play. The buck stops with them and the burden is theirs to carry throughout the journey. But are we fair in asking our clients to be part user research, part product strategist, part copyright, part UX designer, before they've even had a chance to think it through themselves? Granted, some of them are quite well versed in Paint and PowerPoint, and they're not afraid to use it. But that's a talk for another escape.
So here's the real friction. We say we want collaboration, but we do all the work. And we say we want client alignment, but we don't give them the tools to think clearly. And when we try and help them get there, it takes lots of time. Weeks of meetings, stakeholder wrangling, debriefs, follow-ups, all to arrive at something that, let's be honest, often still feels vague. What we really need is a shift. not just in process, but in mindset. We need to help our clients think more clearly earlier. We need to meet them in their mess, but give them the tools to make sense of it. This is where AI enters the picture. Not as a magic wand, but as a co-pilot. I know, pun partially intended. This is not just for us as designers, but for our clients too. Because if we want discovery to be faster, clearer, and more collaborative, we can't just keep tweaking our workshop templates. We need to rethink how clarity happens in the first place.
So after everything we've said about discovery and all of this theory, we wanted to test a simple question. Does putting AI in the room during discovery, in the meetings with our clients, actually change the quality of the conversation, improve the relationship, and improve the outcomes? So we didn't ask, can AI design screens? We've all seen it can do. Can it write briefs or user stories? Yep, it can do that. We know that, but we wanted to know whether AI can help us start better with clearer agendas, faster alignment with our clients, but also the soft things like better energy in the room, more decisive outcomes after meetings. And to test this theory, we set up a small controlled experiment.
So how did we run it? We kept the setup intentionally messy, just like real life. We gave the client one single idea. Well, the client gave us one single idea about the line about their idea. No brief, no deck, no context. We simulated the kickoff of a 6-week discovery phase of a project, anchored by a 90-minute deep dive with the client. We only had product owners in the room, no tech leads yet. We sent no formal agenda, and we wanted to see what emerges from raw conversation. Then we ran 2 versions of that. Firstly, without AI. We used classic facilitation techniques: questions, whiteboard, notes, and then playback. Then we did the same, but with AI. Same people, same time, but we used ChatGPT before and during the session. Beforehand, we asked it for a session structure tailored to the tiny bit we knew about the product. In the room, we generated features and user stories in real time as we talked. We treated every output as a draft to critique, never as fact. And then, when gaps appeared, we asked the model to expand or reframe on the spot. That's it. Same constraints, 2 approaches.
So let's look at the results of these experiments. So first criteria we looked at was the facilitation and the flow in the workshop, which is the energy, the participation of the client, that vibe, during the meeting.
Without AI, the energy started high but faded quickly. The product owner had to repeat themselves multiple times because everything was new to us and we kept asking them to go back. At one point, we got into some legal admin and we asked, who could we contact to obtain an example of legal documents that their users need to sign when they're online? And got hit with the response of, you're the experts, you should have the answers. You know that little pang? Should I know this? After that, momentum dipped and the room got quieter.
Ouch. So with AI, our preparation changed everything. We walked in with a tailored agenda that was specific to the client's domain, and we generated this in 15 minutes prep time. And even with the minimal data provided, we looked in control, and that instantly built trust. As the client raised needs, we pulled up user stories and features on the go, prompted in real time. So here you can see an example of what we prompted the AI and then the results that it gave us. So from all those results, we could start using them to steer the conversation with. So one zoomed in example that you can see here, we were able to present one of the ideas that we pulled from a list of AI-generated features that the client didn't even think of at that point. So the client was able to review this nugget straight away, and we could decide together, if we like the idea or not. So we found that about 70% of the features were on target that the AI gave us, but the rest, that other 30%, that needed editing and in some cases deleting. The client stayed engaged and energized during the time because we were extracting, we were not extracting, we were reacting together to something already there. So the session felt like co-editing and not interrogation.
After that, we looked at the clarity and the quality of the feature definition that came out of that workshop. Without AI, we bounced around. features to users, and then back to features. The definition was good, but as you can see here, as you can see here, we were able to get a pretty good list of features throughout the session, but it took most of the session and was led by us pulling ideas out of the client.
Lots of typing. With AI, the feature definition was quick and specific. So here you can see that the AI quickly gave us an initial list of features, way more comprehensive than the features that we could elicit from the client without AI during that whole 90-minute session. So we were able to take this list and triage this with yes, no's, and maybes, feedback right there in the room. So we led with structure, and then the client expanded with insight. We filled gaps on the spot by asking the model to add cases where we were missing things. Very productive.
The next question that we answered was, how well were we able to prioritize these features? Without AI in the session, we didn't even have time left in the session to get to the step in the process.
Yeah, and with AI, we actually prioritized in the room, and it didn't even turn into a fight. Kid you not. Here you can see how we color-coded the separated features. So the green ones, we all agreed for MVP, and then later releases in the other colors. So because the list of features already existed, prioritization became a decision exercise and not a brainstorming spiral. And I think it was because it didn't take so much effort to get there. The last thing we looked at then was, who did all the work in the meeting? So who did the heavy lifting? And who carried the conversation, Em?
Without AI, we did. By pulling information out of the client through questions that we were coming up with based on things that we were gathering from them earlier. Here you can see a visual timeline of who spoke and when throughout the workshop. You could see that the conversation was largely led by Jana in blue.
Yeah, shame. With AI, the opposite actually happened. So you can see in the bottom graph there that once the session got going, the product owner was a lot more active in the session than I was. The product owner carried the weight by deciding amongst structured options that we presented. So we still facilitated, but the cognitive load shifted to the right place. It was business decision and not recall.
Now, we know it's one thing to talk about how we used AI, but it's another to see how we actually used it. So we want to take you behind the scenes. Here's an actual screen recording of our chat with ChatGPT during the session. So you can see how the prompts shape the output in real time.
So yeah, behind the scenes, we kicked things off by giving ChatGPT that one-liner that the client had provided us on WhatsApp probably, just a single sentence. From that, it generated key considerations like the tech stack, the UX, the business impact, potential use cases, and even suggested next steps for us to take.
From there, we asked if there was anything similar in the market. It came back with several competitor examples, a quick summary of each, and even links to further reading that we could do to explore those examples further.
So next then, we asked it to put together a list of features. So this was during the meeting, right? With user stories for the type of product that we were exploring as the client was talking. So it not only gave us that, but it broke the features down into categories, core features, user experience enhancements, engagement and support features, and then even potential future enhancements, those wow factors that we always have to come up with.
We also asked it to create a problem statement for the product. Within seconds, it generated a clear, structured version that we could work from.
So then we asked about our target users, and ChatGPT gave us a breakdown of primary users, secondary users, and even suggested a niche or emerging market that we might even want to consider with our clients.
Finally, we asked what questions we should be asking during the kickoff of a proper UX process. And this is where it really shined. It gave us a comprehensive list of questions covering business and product goals, user needs and behaviors, technical and content requirements, product-specific considerations, privacy and trusts, and even future visioning of the product.
And all of this, these insights, everything came from less than 5 minutes back and forth with ChatGPT over the course of the 90-minute session that we have with our client. So it's just a simple conversation.
Before we discuss what these results tell us, we need to make a quick note on the reality of the situation. These are two practical notes that we learned the hard way. Firstly, when using AI in a live session, it helps to have two facilitators to steer, one to steer the room and the other to prompt the other one to drive the prompts.
Very true, Emma. We don't want our clients to be staring at the top of our heads while we're trying to build a relationship, ever a good look. Secondly, we use the AI generated lists, right? But remember their starting points. So remember the 70% that was correct, that was great. But the other 30% still required serious editing before even discussing them or putting them in front of the client. So for example, when listing features for an online shopping portal, the AI completely left the payment journey. So for us, it's like an obvious must-have for e-commerce, a no-brainer.
So what do these results actually tell us? We had three big takeaways. Firstly, AI is without a doubt a momentum machine in discovery. It turns a blank page into something that we can react to within minutes. That shift from extraction to co-editing kept the energy high, built trust, and surfaced disagreements earlier while they were still cheap to fix.
So secondly, AI improves the facilitation quality, not the domain truth. So in both sessions, we reached a good understanding of the problem, right? But the difference was the pace and the confidence for which we got there. AI didn't replace judgment, but it amplified it by giving us scaffoldings to critique together.
Our last big takeaway is that AI changes power dynamics in a good way. Without AI, we are the askers and the scribes. But with it, we are the creators of options, and the client becomes the decider. That's where the expertise really shines. The relationship feels more collaborative and less performative.
So when we talk about AI in UX, this is what we mean. Not AI drawing pixels or shape, but AI actually shaping the conversation so that we can align faster, can prioritize earlier, and we can leave the room with decisions and not just notes.
Now, before we get too carried away with how powerful this actually is, let's ground ourselves for a second. Because here's the truth. AI in discovery isn't a magic wand. It's not all smooth sailing. It has real pitfalls that, if we ignore them, can derail the whole process. And let's be honest, some of these pitfalls can bite quite hard.
Yeah. So before you show you how to make AI work in your areas for your clients, we need to talk about this messy stuff again, right? The challenges, the risks and the realities of bringing AI into these early critical stages of this design process, because with our clients, first impressions last.
The first one, hallucinations. AI will confidently give you an answer that's completely made up. It'll tell you a person's favorite podcast or cite stats that don't exist. The trick? Treat everything that it generates as a first draft, not as truth. Think of it as clay, and we're shaping it. We're not here to worship it.
Secondly, bias. These models love stereotypes. So you'll get the young urban millennial who loves lattes persona again and again. So to handle this, we need to make the AI rewrite outputs without stereotyping. We need to focus on specific behaviors, specific characteristics, and things that we get from our clients, not just demographics. And that'll keep us away from cliches.
Third is privacy and IP. We all know this one. We can't just copy and paste sensitive client data into ChatGPT. The safe move is to strip out the details and work in only approved tools. And always set with the expectations with the client that this is a draft, not a source of truth.
Fourth one, over automation. If we lean too hard on the machine, clients start thinking, but wait, why are you here? Aren't you just pressing the button? And that's dangerous because remember, what we want them to value about us is our judgment, our ability to facilitate that therapy thing, so that they have the way that we frame it really matters. Really, we need to say that AI is the co-pilot, we are the guides, and our client still drives.
Fifth, generic thinking. Left alone, AI can give us safe, middle-of-the-road options. Fine for the start, but really boring in the long run. So we push it. to give us wild options, feasible but unusual options. That's when the good stuff shows up.
And then we look at fragility in live sessions. Anyone who's demoed knows this pain. The Wi-Fi drops, the model freezes, you've got a room of 12 people staring at you. And that's why we always bring backups. We bring screenshots and PDFs and pre-run prompts. We do a little bit more prep work in just 15 minutes, hopefully. And most importantly, we bring our brains into the room. If the model stalls, we can just say, all right, let's switch to our draft version and critique it. And the session can carry on.
There are more. Accessibility gaps, compliance misses, version control headaches, but you get the idea. AI is a powerful tool, but it's also really messy, which is why we need guardrails.
So why bother, dinosaurs like me would ask? If it's so risky, why not just stick to the old ways? Because even I couldn't deny that the upside is huge. So AI gets us to a first draft so much faster. Instead of spending 3 meetings with us trying to define goals, we can show something concrete in 10 minutes and say, tear this apart. So unfortunately for me, who loves flying to Cape Town, going to those 5-day workshops that end in frustration and fatigue with our clients. So AI can create better conversations, and it takes away that fear of the white page as well. So a draft on the table also makes it safer for people to disagree with. They're not disagreeing with me or you, they're disagreeing with the AI, and that lowers defensiveness, surfaces real alignment issues, and, builds that relationship earlier.
It also helps with inclusion. Stakeholders who are quieter or not native English speakers suddenly have something tangible that they can react to. They don't have to start from scratch. And the kicker? It lets us spend our energy where humans really shine, on judgment, facilitation, and empathy, instead of boilerplate documentation. So yes, there are risks, but the benefits outweigh them massively if we use AI thoughtfully.
Okay, so hopefully we've got you all excited now, and you're sitting here thinking, all right, how do I try this without blowing up in my face? So here's a simple playbook. When you run your next discovery workshop, frame it like this. Okay, client, we're going to bring in some AI tools to create some rough drafts for us. These are not truths, they're starting points. And together we'll edit them, we'll decide on the right tools to use, we'll challenge them, and we'll make them better together. And then you will run the 6-step loop, which is feed the AI with safe summaries into safe tools, right? Get the first draft of the artifacts. You can look at big ideas, problem statements, use cases, user goals, business goals, feature lists, personas, even some user flows. And then thirdly, together with your client, you red pen the information as a group. And bonus, less emotion and more motion. And then feed the corrections back into the AI and get version 2, 3, 4, and so forth. And then you log into your agreements with your clients. And lastly, now you can use AI to generate or tackle those open questions, edge cases, unseen scenarios, things that we didn't think of, to close the loop. And that's it. One cycle. It's simple, it's inclusive, and it worked.
And here's what we'll leave you with. The magic of AI isn't in designing pretty screens. It's that it helps us start together. It'll take those vague, I'll know it when I see it moments and turns them into something that we can react to, edit, and align on. AI doesn't replace our craft, or our ethics or our empathy. But it frees us to spend more time on the parts of design that only humans can do well.
So we've given you a view of the tools and the accountability that comes with them. Now the challenge is over to you. Use AI, not just in design, but in all cases of all projects or phases of your project. Because AI is not your competitor, it's your tool, or as our colleagues in the BA space said, it's your teammate by now, and therefore it's here to stay.
So our invitation to you is this. Try one AI-assisted step in your next discovery. Bring a draft into the room, let your stakeholders tear it apart, and see how much faster you reach clarity. Because clarity isn't just a deliverable, it's a relationship. And when we use AI thoughtfully, it can help us build that relationship faster, stronger, and with more confidence from both sides. Thank you very much.
Yay!
You can take questions. Are there any questions? Yes.
Yes. Mikael.
Thank you. Hi. I do have one. It's so weird hearing myself like that. I do have one question. What you mentioned how you don't want to create that thing with the client where they're going, okay, wait, why don't I just click the magic button, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want them to see the value in you using it. So how do you approach that? Do you make it very obvious that you're working with the AI? Do you want to hide it? What's the middle ground here? How do you actually have that conversation with them? And do you try and make it obvious that you're using it? Do you maybe just show them parts of it? How do you approach that?
Yeah, so for sure, you don't show them all the raw data that AI generates.
Yeah.
I think honesty is the best policy. We also spoke about tools, like, for example, there are tools that are ring fenced into certain environments. So you need to sort of be upfront and honest with your client in which tools they are willing to bring into the process. Now, what the good thing is we might not necessarily in the beginning of the process be putting IP into the AI. So I feel that whatever you would have researched before your meeting, if you're researching it without handing out any AI, any IP as such, and you're bringing it into the room, in my opinion, that's still artifacts that even though you co-edited with AI, you've brought it into the room. But I would suggest definitely discussing it with your client. However, you don't want them sitting by a computer saying, type this, type this, type that.
Yeah.
And that's what we meant by it. It's quite easy to do when you're more than one person in the meeting. And when you absolutely cannot have that, I would say use it to prepare for your meeting.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Oh, hi. Excellent presentation, by the way. I really enjoyed that. Oh, my question was, so I've been learning and pretty much messing with agentic AI tools like Firebase Studio and GenKit for about a week or so for the purposes of prototyping for this hackathon I was doing with Mukuru. What do you guys think of backend as a service apps like that? Like AI agents that do the prototyping for you, and as the client speaks, you guys can prompt it in real life, can sort of create the website, the front end and the back end together for you. Have you ever used such tools? What do you think of them?
So we've got some of those plugins in Figma, and obviously not being developers, we wouldn't know what the quality of the actual back-end, front-end integration like you did now explore into. So what we've seen with the plugins in Figma that we've showed on the screen as well, that generates wireframes or generates screens for you, the component quality at this point is not quite good. So it's not something we can just hand off to our developers. There are spacing issues. It's not properly auto layouted so that we can actually do responsive design with it. We can't get it to work together with our design systems that we have. So if you have big clients that already got massive libraries and design systems in Figma and in other libraries, we struggle to get that to actually integrate and do proper work. So where we find it very useful, and that's why we focus this talk in the beginning, is all those wireframes and all those different screens that it generates, even though it's ugly, in my opinion, most of the time. Thank heavens, I still have a job. But then because it is wireframes, it helps us think and consider all the different possibilities. And it just gives us so much more to work with and then reduce. But when it comes to useful artifacts to hand over to our developers, I haven't found a plugin that can do that well yet. Anybody else in the room? Crack that, please phone me.
Please, please, I beg. But thank you so much.
Hi, ladies. So one thing I just want to ask is, which AI tools did you use?
So Christine, for our purposes here, we use ChatGPT, and then we played around with Copilot, and then the plugins into Figma was a Copilot plugin called Build AI. That's a free version of it. And then we also played around with Figma Make a little bit. All of these were free versions at this stage. We just needed the Figma license, which is the only subscription we needed.
Any other questions? Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, guys.